Okay, I think we're live. Hi, everyone. Can y'all hear us? Can y'all see us? They're on countdown. Hi, everyone. Let us know if you can hear us.
Let me go to your channel in the meantime and see if, you know.
Okay, let's see.
If we can see something.
Okay. Oh, I think we're live.
I hope we're live. We better be live at this point.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Carol. How is everyone? Yay, audio is on. Awesome. Happy Sunday. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Carol. Hi, Coco. Hi, Alna Geezer. Hi, Claire. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday Live. I am joined by the lovely Sue Smith. Thank you for joining, Sue. So glad to have you.
Thank you.
Things to talk about.
Oh, my God, do we?
I mean, where do we start?
Don't make me laugh because I'm going to start coughing. Don't make me laugh. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, should we start with the live here with her website?
Oh my God!
Let's see how you know how to do that.
Her website is just okay.
Yeah. So share. What did you think of this, Sue? What did you think of the live?
About her, well, I thought on the left side, it literally looked like she was, I'm going to hate to, like she was trying to unalive herself.
That picture, that opening picture is scary.
What is that? She's on tiptoes with dirty feet, holding up a white tarp that she's draped in with an artfully placed basket. That may not even be her feet at this point. That may not even be her.
Oh, it was really weird. I thought she was wearing high heels. I couldn't figure out the photo. I was like, this is really weird. And then I realized, oh my God.
Bare feet.
She's bare feet.
She's bare feet. Bare dirty feet.
Right?
In her perfectly manicured garden.
This looks like a fall photo to me. I don't, and the people are saying it's not even apricot, or it looks like kumquats or something in the basket. It's a little strange.
You're so funny.
So the funny thing is, when I first went to the website, I kept clicking on the banner, thinking it was going to go to the store. And then, of course, we have the brand new rosé wine.
Did you happen to notice, though, that she released this stuff on William's birthday, and she's releasing the wine on Diana's birthday?
Right.
Creepy. She's creepy.
And why July 1st? Why not now at the launch?
Because she wants to do it on Diana's birthday.
Yeah, I feel like this whole thing, she should have just done the launch then on July 1st. Nobody made her do it this month. It seemed very rushed.
I take it back. I think Netflix made her do it because after she made the comment that she was taking a step back, from what I understand, Netflix had a cow and said, no, restock and get busy. And then all of a sudden she reversed positions, and it's the exact same stuff except for the apricot spread. Nothing's different.
Right. Right.
This is her new summer collection. It's the exact same stuff.
I suspect, and this is my theory, I think she still had all of these boxed goods in storage somewhere, like in a warehouse. I think they were, I don't think she actually sold out of those. Those are very easy to replenish. It doesn't take 2 months to restock frozen boxed flour cookies or crepe mix. These are things, teas, dried flowers. These are things that are very easily stored.
We all know what she's doing. She did the exact same thing she did before. She only stocked like 100 of each thing. So of course they were sold out in 2 seconds. Why don't you explain what happened during the honey, what you did?
Right. Well, on my video that I did the other day, when I first went to the website, the honey was immediately sold out. So there was a lot of people have said that they actually saw the honey. So this is what I believe happened. When I went to the website on Texas time, the website was delayed 3 minutes in Texas because it didn't go live until 10:03, which was 8:03 Pacific time. And I remember thinking to myself, why are they late? 3 minutes late. But now I believe it was a delay. And the honey sold out in 6 minutes. So if I'm delayed in Texas by 3 minutes, and if I was on the front of the website looking at it, going through it, by the time I clicked it, it was out. But to me in Texas, it was never really available because, again, it was so delayed. Now, the interesting thing is there are some people who are major fans of Meghan were trying to check out.
I saw that with like 50.
By the time they went to the cart, it said sold out. So her website didn't count the inventory, which is really odd because normal people with normal websites know that that's what you do.
Well, what she did was very interesting. She's using a third-party distributor, and so she's not responsible when they take your money and they don't ship you the product. Now, there's several people on Twitter and in the news that said they won't refund my money, but they won't ship me anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm disputing it with the bank to get my money back. That's what they're doing.
Right.
So it's like another scam. This particular website, or this particular, not website, but this particular group that she's using to ship her products has a very bad rating. When you look into it, which I talked about in one of my videos, has a very bad rating and a very bad reputation for saying they have stuff that they don't have. So I found it interesting that this is who Meghan Markle used to ship her products. And if you didn't get the product, don't bother her, because there's a disclaimer that says she's not responsible. That's what it says. There's an absolute disclaimer that she's not responsible for her own products.
Well, the rumor that I heard from people that's not confirmed is they were trying to tell me that, you know how she got the IOUs for the honey?
Mm-hmm.
That they were saying that Meghan was going to send out the brand new honey to people who didn't get the first honey, which I find hard to believe considering most people couldn't even check out and purchase the honey in the first place.
I find it interesting that
they're getting this right as an IOU.
It's weird. It's just weird.
It's called honey weight. Yeah.
And then the sugars were trying to check out 50 items at a time, and they couldn't get them either. So I think she pulled the same thing she pulled last time, which is she had a very limited amount of stock. It's sold. She's like, oh my God, she did that video. We've been live for 6 minutes and my flour sprinkles are almost completely sold out. Oh, look, blah, blah, blah. And she took her phone to do a video of the other phone. Look, is it confetti or is it flour sprinkles? Now, anybody with half a brain would know that she didn't come up with flour sprinkles. You can buy flour sprinkles off of Amazon 3 times the amount that she's selling for half the price.
Right.
So her ideas are, and everybody's like, her jam. It's not jam, it's spread. It's not jelly, it's not jam, it's spread. It's runny. The reviews were not good. She's trying to make everybody think that it's this fabulous stuff, that it's selling out worldwide. That's not what's happening.
Yeah. Now, Brittany from the Royal News Network made a really good point. She said that it looked like, because at first I thought she was saying that it was sold out. And I'm like, no, it's not sold out. It's still on the website. It took a couple hours for most of the stuff to sell out. The tea went right away, which was very surprising. And of course, the first apricot spread with the packaging and the honey were the first things to go. And that looked like the crepe mix and the cookies and the flowers and the regular apricot spread were kind of taking a while. So when she went to her Instagram and she was like, oh, look, it's about to sell out. And I'm thinking to myself, to me, it looked like she was desperate because she made it slip that we ordered large amounts of quantity. So I have a feeling it wasn't moving fast enough, like Brittany said, and she had to go and promote it on Instagram because she thought it was going to be a sellout immediately within 45 minutes, and it wasn't.
The funny thing is with those sprinkles, she's talking about my kids, and I put sprinkles on everything on their eggs. If I handed my kid food with that stuff on it, they would have scraped it off. Mm-hmm. They would not have eaten that. So I don't get it. I can go to Pinterest and come up with the majority of her ideas are on Pinterest and have been on Pinterest for 20 years or however long Pinterest has been around. Nothing she's doing is novel. Nothing she's doing is, you know, the brainchild.
Right. So Sue and I had this conversation yesterday where people are like, we wish you would stop talking about her and giving her airtime.
Yes.
She's constantly in the public, Fred. Constantly, all day long, spreading lies. The reason why we do it is not to promote her, is to expose her and to let people know she doesn't tell the truth. If you didn't have any of us out here counteracting what Harry and Meghan did, people would just have the one narrative, Fred. So that is why.
Correct.
And that's why you're here listening.
And I might add, I was also kind of, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We discussed this yesterday. I'm not going through the whole thing of what happened to the Sidley twins yesterday. It's pretty bad. But it's in this new cancel culture. I wish you would talk about something else. If you don't like what they're talking about, then go to a different channel. But you can't go on to people's content and tell them what to do on their channel. If this is not what you're interested in, there's how many other channels on YouTube? Go watch something else.
Now, Fred, we're not putting you out negatively. This was not to put you on the spot. I'm glad you're here. Please don't take that as a criticism. But a lot of people say that to me. They'll say, we're so tired of hearing about Harry and Meghan while they're watching the video. But then I'll put out a video on the royals and they won't watch it. So
exactly.
If you want me to do other content, I'm planning to do that. But don't be a hypocrite and say, don't listen to them and then watch those videos and then don't watch the other ones. It's kind of like we're trying to make everyone happy here, but we also need to counteract what they're doing.
Right.
So it's kind of like why people always say that is like, I think what it is people are just frustrated with them.
We all have Sussex fatigue.
Yeah.
Every one of us has Sussex. I'm so sick to the teeth of hearing, especially when she tells lies. And we're going to get to that interview, I'm sure, in a second. But that's why, like in my videos, the first half of my videos is the royal family and all the fabulous stuff that they're doing. And some of the other royals I've talked about that Martha Louise girl from, she's crazy. And you know, this guy she married, this bisexual HIV positive shaman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talk about all the royals, not just the British royals. I mean, they're not the only ones.
Right.
But I talk also about the royal family and the things that they're doing. I talk about Andrew. But that's my niche. So if the royal family's not your niche, you know, but I mean, it's not, and again, we're not putting you on the spot, like Michelle said, but this is what I started my channel on coming up on 5 years ago. And but I do have Sussex fatigue, which is why I now have a separate channel. Everybody wants my recipes. They want to hear about my rescue animals. They want to see my vacations. We just came back from Naples, Italy to celebrate my 60th birthday. All that stuff is on the other channel. So, so if you want to follow me, but you don't like the Sussexes, you could watch that.
That's right. And Carol and Lizzie, if you could put the Secret Life of Sue Smith, her second channel, in a link in the description, if you can do that in the chat, we would much appreciate that. So Anna Gazer says, what happened with the twins? Well, we'll just talk about it very briefly. There are some people on Twitter, they do this weird thing where they were accusing the Sidley twins of being sugars, which is hilarious. And they tried to accuse me of being a sugar. They liked a photo that I meant to save. They accused Brittany from Royal News Network because she bought a whole bunch of As Ever products to do a review as a commentator. They were like trying to cancel her. And these were people in the Megxit community talking about sugars. They were like turning, just like when people say, quit talking about Meghan. It's like, well, then why are you here? Why are you on the video? So it's like we're trying to do what people want, but then people kind of turn on you. And it's like we're doing it to expose them.
Exactly.
We're not sugars. So they were kind of going after the twins yesterday on Twitter. I'm not going to mention the account who did it, but it was really nasty. And it's like, why do people do that?
I spent the whole day yesterday driving to another part of the state and coming home to bring my, pack up my son and bring him home. So by the time I got online and saw what was going on,
right,
it was over. But I did call the Sidleys and I was like, can I help you? Do you need anything? What can I do to help you? Because I just thought it was just terrible.
It's just really weird. Hi, Resting Doll Face.
Resting Doll Face.
Happy Sunday. So that's basically what happened. And so as creators, we get a little frustrated when we have people kind of do stuff like that. But, it is what it is. It comes with the territory. You're always going to get a critic. Sandy says, appreciate y'all because we wouldn't know about these two. Exactly. It is important for us to counteract them. And now the mainstream media is starting to kind of pick up on what we talk about, what we expose.
Oh my God. I get so upset. Mainstream media will cover something that I covered 3 years ago. And they're just now discussing it. And I'm like, are you serious? I did a whole video on that 3 years ago. And my video actually will have more information than their articles. I'm just shocked at mainstream media and their attitude. It's like the gloves have finally come off from mainstream media. So
through the looking glass, I can't read what she says. We all dream about the day we wouldn't have to hear news about these two, but we've been watching. I can't read it all because I have my glasses.
It says we are watching the House of Sussex fall brick by brick. We don't want to miss the day, and we will continue to show up and dance. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So Claire says it's the group from a while ago causing problems again. Yeah, I don't know why people feel the need to do that. So we just don't give them any airtime. It's silly. It's stupid. We just kind of move on from there, But again, we do try to report on the other royals as much as we can. Sue does a great job of doing that.
Thank you.
We have to counteract the news that they put out.
The Martha Louise wedding was just too much for me. I just couldn't. And just real quick, because I don't want to get off topic, but for those of you who don't know, Martha Louise is the sister of, I think, the king. And she's a little woohoo, and she used to run a school called Angel School to teach you how to talk to angels. And then she met this guy from another United States. He's his previous fiance, Hank, got him arrested. He's been in and out of jail. He's bisexual. He's HIV positive. He claims to be a shaman. The whole thing is just crazy. And the royal family, I mean, they sold medallions to ward off COVID. He said that cancer is a choice. Children get cancer if you don't treat them well. I'm like, dang. And this guy married. They claimed they were not going to monetize their titles. And then what was the next thing that happened? They sold the rights to the wedding to Hello Magazine. And I believe Netflix is doing a special. There's pictures of the cameras there. I was like, oh my God. It's like another Harry Meghan thing. It was just, this guy, though, is the two of them together. She's nuts anyway. So the two of them together was just crazy.
Well, they're basically their version of Harry and Meghan. Claire says, I enjoy the train wreck. Meghan and her lies and fakeness are hilarious. And again, we're not doing it to be mean. We're not hateful. But again, the hypocrisy, it's like this. Is she supposed to be a fairy princess? Is she supposed to be whimsical? This is not a whimsical woman. It's funny.
This was a swipe at the royal family, because do you recognize that swing? That is the swing that was given to Archie at the Platinum Jubilee by King Charles, as his name is engraved on it. Catherine and William got the same one, and so did Prince George. And there's pictures. It'll be in my video tomorrow. There's pictures of that swing. And so, of course, she's swinging on the swing given to her by King Charles in the picture. Swipe.
Oh, okay. Did not know that. See, yep. Sue has the 411. Sandy says she is absolute insane. She must be on Schmuck or something. Nobody can be that dumb. The shit show of a wedding. Well, she's a narcissist. So she literally just lives in her own reality. Hi, Flapper27. Thanks for joining. Joy of Hearts. Yeah, it is nuts with Meghan. It's literally a full-time job, guys.
I think, I got to be honest, I think she has some severe mental health issues. It's very obvious. She's got mental health issues, and she's narcissistic. That's also very obvious. That comes through without any difficulty. And the whole pretense of charity work has fallen off. And now it's all Meghan as ever. Meghan, with love, Meghan. Meghan here, Meghan. Harry is just, the whole pretense is gone. And the thing that really gets me is she's 43 years old. And so from the time she met Harry till the time they stepped back, she was in the royal family or with the family for a total of 3 years. She has a full 40 years without the family, but all you ever hear about is her and the royal family.
Right.
So I thought she was in her year of joy. What happened?
What is with joy? Why is joy the new buzzword all of a sudden?
Joy is her new buzzword. It brings me such joy and happiness, When she gave her interview to that woman, the last podcast where she was slumming it with the YouTubers. When she gave that interview, when she took the swipe at the royal family, my good friend Serena says a lie can't live forever. 8 years is a long time, but again, she can't help herself. The psychopathy. She has to swipe at the family. But what she did was the exact same thing she did in the Oprah show. She made a blanket statement without saying what was said, who said it, what's the lie, what's the context. It was just, they're liars. They're lying about me. They've been lying about me for 8 years. Same thing that she did in Oprah. So for somebody who supposedly is in her year of joy and has moved on and is looking forward, she can't help herself.
Right.
She can't help herself.
What were your biggest takeaways from the interview?
She is being controlled by Netflix.
You think so?
Oh my God. Netflix is in control of this, not her. She wants you to think that I have all these meetings and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But basically what she said was Netflix has a team of 80 people. They're the ones handling everything. They're probably going to her saying, this is what we're going to do. And she's like, okay, whatever. Because let's face it, she doesn't stick to any one thing. She never has. She uses a lot of big words in her interviews, a lot of buzzwords, but in the end, she's jam is my jam, but what she's put out isn't jam. It's spread. It's runny. It's nasty. Then she didn't restock. Some of the reviews of her stuff, like you were saying, like Brittany tried one of her teas. I don't remember which one.
Right.
She said it was the most disgusting thing. It was nauseating.
Right.
She said it was the most disgusting thing she ever put in her mouth. Now, she did give credit where credit is due to other things, but not to, this one particular tea. Some of her stuff just was not good. Just was not good.
That's why I was surprised that the tea was one of the first things to sell out. Because I was like, I heard her teas were really bad.
The teas are bad. Well, what's going on there, again, is the Sussex Squad. And they're purchasing the stuff, but they're not going to be able to purchase her products forever. And, you can't make a career out of keeping somebody else living in a millionaire lifestyle by buying tea. I mean, it's not sustainable.
Right.
So.
Okay. So during the interview, what was your biggest takeaway when you sat there with Emma Grede or Grede, whatever her name is? What was your biggest takeaway from that interview?
Well, I have two. One was that she was being controlled by Netflix. Netflix is absolutely in control of this mess.
But did you hear the part where she said that Netflix trust her decision-making, which I thought was hysterical?
They don't. That's not true.
Okay.
But my other takeaway was that she can't stop with the royal family. She cannot stop. This whole thing that blew up not long ago about the HRH, where she was caught using it. And they clapped back and said, well, she's not using it for commercial purposes and she's not using it in public. That was not the agreement. The agreement was you wouldn't use it. And that makes you wonder, is she using that HRH in her correspondence to Netflix? Is she using that HRH in her correspondence to to this person and this person who she's trying to get, it makes you wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. For this woman to sit there on Netflix or on the Oprah show and go, I'm not really attached to those titles. I'm not attached. She most certainly is attached. She wants to use that HRH. Nobody's going to stop her from using it. The fact that they want the kids to have it, because Harry, who went on about how horrible the royal family is and it's terrible and it's a fishbowl, now he's saying he wants his kids to have it so they can go work for the royal family. That just shows how delusional he is, because those children will never be accepted by the royal family. They will never work for the royal family, ever. I'm going to make a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Those children are going to grow up. Thomas Markle will be deceased. Charles will be deceased, and they're going to grow up and realize that they were screwed out of a very privileged, pampered life in the royal family. And they're going to write books, Raised by a Narcissist, or Meghan Markle, my mean mom, or there's going to be, because I'm such a believer in karma. You know that what you put out will always come back to you, always.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe those children are going to write books about them when they grow up. I mean,
okay, so there was a new story that Dan Wooten covered the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this is 100% true, that William is pissed that they're abusing their HRHs, and that when he becomes king, he's going to remove the HRHs and probably the prince and princess title from the kids, because there's no point in them having it.
Correct. They said that the HRHs were done by a letters patent, and it's a simple thing for him just to sign off on the letters patent and say, as neither one of them are working royals for the family anymore, and the children will never be working royals to the family anymore. They do not need the HRH, and the children do not need the prince and princess titles. So that's going to be, they will not remove the Sussex titles.
Right.
That will never happen. But the HRHs and the prince and princess for the kids will be gone. And from what I've also heard, I heard that they're making the kids being called Prince Archie and Princess Lily at school.
Are they?
Yes, that's what I read recently. The children are not having issues at school because their royal titles are being used at school.
Okay. So Lizzie B says, that is such hypocrisy. They said the royal family was a fishbowl, among other things. Why would they want their kids to go to a place you disparage?
Exactly.
And the interesting thing is that Neil Sean, in his most recent video, talked about, being at Windsor Castle and how secure it is. And the kids would have been living there on that compound, right? Because I believe Frogmore Cottage was there within Windsor Castle. And of course, it would have been very close to Adelaide Cottage, which is where William and their children live. Even though someone did, I believe, didn't they have another break-in at Windsor Castle? Some kids jumped a fence or something. But it's very, very secure there. So Harry and Meghan, who were so paranoid for security, would have been so secure living within that compound. And again, we never see Charlotte, Louis, or George being photographed, going to school, going to the park. People respect their privacy because there was a gentleman agreement between the royal family and the press.
Correct.
Not to go after the kids. And they don't.
The agreement is that one photographer can go and take pictures and video on the first day of school and the last day of school and then disseminate it to the rest.
Well, I heard it was basically that they just provide school pics and birthday pics, and that's it. They're not bothered.
Right.
So Harry and Meghan, this whole thing about Meghan was afraid of being taking the kids to school, that wouldn't have happened. We never see Catherine and William during their pickup taking the kids.
The worst
thing I find that's funny, though, is we never see Harry and Meghan packed ever with their children in Montecito.
Do you know what I heard?
Yeah.
I heard that some of the photographers say it's not worth the effort, that the pictures aren't money shots anymore. They're not worth that much money, and the two of them are too much trouble.
Right. And I don't think it sells that much. And now that she's giving everything away for free, the mama, what is it? The baby mama dance. She gave that away for free, which that would for a lot of money. So according to Neil Sean, and I do believe this, I believe there's more videos coming.
Oh, sure there are. Sure there are.
Relationship has been on camera.
I mean, this whole thing about we were taping ourselves. We didn't know what we were going to do with it, but we just did it because a friend of ours suggested it. And then when we got to the United States, we needed something and we just kind of fell into the streaming service. That is the biggest lie. They were talking to Quibi, which is a now defunct streaming service, a year before they even announced that they were stepping back. They were already trying to put deals in place before any of that happened. And then the other thing was Harry said himself that they were looking for a different way to do things for a minimum of 2 years, but they got married in 2018 and they left in 2020. So, I mean, he even tripped himself up in Netflix when he says stuff like that. I recently reported on that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if the problem is when you lie, you have to keep up with your lies. And when you can't keep up with your lies, it comes back to bite you in the tush.
Right.
So,
so again, what was the point of her going back to Instagram, a woman who wants to be private, and sharing photos of her kids with emojis? What is the point? If you want to go with your kids, great. Why do we need to see it?
Well, everybody said, why are there no pictures from anybody else? Well, now, of course, we found out that they use the Disney underground tunnels to get from, and they use the private entrances to the rides, and they cleared everybody else off the rides. The saddest picture I saw, and I think this was in my video yesterday, the saddest picture I saw was Lily on a horse, Archie on a horse, nobody else on the carousel, and that these two kids looked so lonely on this carousel going round and round. I thought, if that's not a metaphor for their lives, what's coming?
Right.
The parents, he's like, well, I had a Disney moment like Diana. No, Diana made your rear end stand in line. But these two used the underground tunnels and the private entrances, and they went ride to ride to ride.
Yeah, Carly says the kids are always different. Obvious to me, anyone else. Yeah, we know when kids grow, they're going to change, but their hair colors and their heights, they just look very different all the time.
Yeah.
And to say this in the nicest way,
they were blonde, then red, then brunette.
Yeah, they look unkept, look like they're wearing pajamas, like she's barefoot. Like when you saw the difference between Charlotte at Trooping the Color, beautiful hair, combed, always looks like a little princess, looks well kept. And then you see like Archie, the back of his head in pajamas, or you see Lily in a dress with see-through, no shoes, her hair is not combed. It's like.
But that doesn't surprise me, because I also saw a Dan Wooten thing where somebody, when Archie was a baby, an airline stewardess approached Dan Wooten to say, I was on such and such flight. And Meghan showed no interest in the baby. She was expecting everybody else to take care of the baby and feed the baby. And they also said that when Harry wasn't around, she acted like a completely different person on the flight. So I'm sure that she had the nanny taking the kids around, the nanny doing things, because there were a couple of rides that the kids weren't on that these two were on.
Right.
So maybe she expected the nanny to brush Lily's hair.
Right. Flapper says Lily's hair needed to be combed and brushed.
Yes, it did.
Steph the Alternator said Markle was merching clothes on Lily at Disney.
She was.
And this is that little dress that she has on. One of the funniest things was she kind of caught herself. If you notice in the interview, she's like, and first of all, she's so full of it because we never see the kids. We just started seeing the kids like just a couple months ago. So her saying, well, people were just merching my children and they, wearing stuff that Lily was wearing. I'm like, when? We barely see her. We barely see in the back of her head. How would people know exactly what she was wearing to merch? Okay. We barely see the children in the video. And then she's like, but if it's coming from a place of love and joy, it's okay. Meaning if it's coming from me and my affiliate link. But again, notice, all the kids, nobody was merching her kids' clothing. Where?
But notice she was merching the Wales children clothing.
Oh, yeah. But she took it down. Did you notice how she took it down? Her whole My Shop page got taken down off of her Instagram because she got called out.
Yes.
And now it's just stuff that's on her Instagram. But here is my favorite story. We do a farmer's market. That was.
Oh my God. That's also been proven to be such a freaking lie.
You like my AI image? I'm having a really good time over on Twitter. Grok, you can make these funny AI images. They're hysterical. But that was the funniest thing I ever heard. It's like, was she having a farmer's market with the nannies and the maids in the backyard? She wasn't very specific, but she made it seem like they went to the Montecito farmer's market.
She said, we sell our veggies at the farmer's market. That's exactly what she said. But of course, upon further research, you have to fill out applications and there's all these steps you have to go through. And there's a list of people who are allowed to sell. And guess what? She's not on the list. So that was just another lie. This is just, I mean, this is part of the psychopathy I was talking about. She lies, and her lies can easily be debunked. And it's just like, what? When I gave my speech, I got a standing ovation, and I thought this is where I should be. And then a video showed of that speech. There was no standing ovation. And, I was driving home, or I was flying home, and the head steward came over, knelt down, and took off his hat and said, "Thank you for all that you've done for the UK." I can assure you 100% that's a lie. We go to the farmer's market, we sell. That's a lie. But that's what's so scary about her. She lies, and the lies just roll off her tongue, even though they're easily debunked. She just continues to lie. And that's what's so scary about her, because you never know what's going to come out of her mouth next. Yep. Michelle, look at you.
You guys, if you don't know, if you go to Twitter, these free AI images on Grok, and sometimes they get them really bad. Like I was trying to do like, picture of, Meghan Markle with one redheaded boy, one redheaded girl, ages 4 and 6 with fruit. And sometimes it'd come up with like 5 boys and a girl. Like, it's hysterical. One of these days I'm going to do my AI fails, but this is hysterical. The Pinocchio nose. I just couldn't resist.
You're so good. You're so good. I love that.
This is why we do it. When people say, "Why do you give her airspace? Why do you give her time?" We're not. We're not seeing what she does, the lies that she tells. This is why we do it. We try to do it in a fun, comical way. But what they've done to the royal family is very damaging. They've literally made them racist. Like,
and I'm just going to throw this out here too. In I think it was yesterday's video. She plagiarized something, and I called it out in my video, and I put in the links in the description box 2 videos I did that show her plagiarizing book titles, sayings, Harry starting to plagiarize. I'm like, you know me, Michelle, if I say it, I can prove it.
Yes.
If I can't prove it, I won't say it.
No, they're not.
No.
Yankee is from the UK.
And she's older than I am by a lot. And didn't she used to be a madam? She used to run a brothel. That woman had a really colorful life.
We're not going to go there, but
I got nothing wrong with that. I used to be a nurse. She ran a brothel. She's older than me. She's UK.
Right.
I'm American.
Exactly. But no, they are not the same person.
Not the same person.
Sharon said there needs to be a blue curve on the nose, Michelle. If I could do it, sometimes that grok with Twitter, you have to really put in a lot of descriptions, and sometimes you got to do it a couple of times to get it to work. Yeah. So someone says, how about a blackout for the Markles on Princess Diana birthday? No PR for the wine. We'll think about it. And here's the thing. I personally understand the Meghan Markle and Harry fatigue, because I do it. I get bored. I get tired of talking about them. They take up a lot of my life, guys, because I try to get the news out to you. But like Sue, I love the royal family, and we do try to cover a lot of the other royals. Yes. And I do plan to do more on my second channel. I got quite a few video ideas that I'm working on, and Sue always adds in a lot of the royal family. Yeah. And I know a lot of other people. Brittany does a great job. She's probably going to have a ton out there as well. So, we'll definitely try to incorporate more royals, because we do understand the fatigue. And it's for us, it's really, for me, I work a full-time job, and I have an eye condition. That's why I'm not on camera, because my eye is flaming.
Oh, my Lord. Bless your heart.
Time is my biggest thing. So I try to get the news out as fast as I can, but we do understand, and we will try to incorporate that. But at the same time, you guys do click on the Meghan stuff. So, but we do understand.
And I retired as a nurse, and this is like my job now. So when people say, well, I want to blackout on this or blackout on that, what you're literally doing is asking me not to go to work. So think of it that way.
Right.
How about on Princess Diana's birthday, you not click? I'm just saying, just don't click on any Megxit channels. click on, I don't know, how to build a castle.
Well, you know what? I am planning to add some really cool videos to my other channel, and Sue has her other channel. So there's a ton of other content you can go and check out that day. So we'll definitely make sure that there's more stuff there.
I just came back from Naples, Italy. We did all kinds of interesting things, and I put up multiple videos showing all the different things, the museums. There's one where we went to underground Naples. There's one where we went to Pompeii, one where we went to Capri. You know, I take you, when I go on a vacation, I take you guys along with me.
Yeah, it's a very interesting channel. Make sure to check it out. Tony says, ultimately, H&M will and are damaging themselves in the long run. Absolutely. And honestly, I kind of thought the 7-year itch, which is this year, would have been kind of the final point for them. But now I kind of feel like they're at the point of no return, that where's Harry going to go? They don't even want him back at all, even without Meghan.
But what has he got? Centobale is gone. It's gone. African Parks is a mess. He's going to be gone from that also.
Right.
So the only thing that this man has left, the only thing left is Invictus. And even that has turned into the Meghan Markle clothing, prance walkway. And of course, when we found out that a large percentage of Invictus donations were spent on Harry and Meghan, on their travel, security, food, her clothing. I mean, these people are multimillionaires. Why is Invictus paying for anything? Let them pay for themselves.
Right. And that was the other thing that I thought was hilarious in the interview, when she was talking about, she's like a spendthrift, that she knows the value of $1, and she's always clipping coupons, like almost the Sizzler story. I ate at Sizzler as a kid. I was clipping coupons, and she had 20 jobs when she was 14, and backpacked through France and was a nanny for 2 Irish Catholic families also. I mean, the girl had more jobs than I've ever known anybody to have before the age.
It's a lie.
I know. But the thing I thought hilarious was she actually had the nerve to say she knows a bargain. She's always doing retail me not. I'm like, you spent $60,000 on your clothing for Invictus over 5 days. Maybe it wasn't her money. That's why it's okay. She kind of strikes me as the type of person who maybe doesn't spend her own money, but will gladly spend everyone else's.
Oh, of course. I mean, this is just like Archwell. Every time they donate to something, they're like, look at us. Look what we did. We've donated. But it's not your money you're donating. You're donating money other people gave you to donate. The two of them have not donated 1 penny of their own money for the whole 5 or 6 years. Not 1 penny. And that's why, if I wanted to, like for me, if I donate, you guys know how much I love my rescue animals.
Yes.
If I want to donate, I go to my local animal shelter. I don't donate to the ASPCA, when a few years ago it came out that 80% of all donations went to pay for the CEO.
Oh, wow.
For salaries, not to the animals. That was it. If I want to give money to homeless, I go to my local shelter. Right. If I want to give money to Meals on Wheels, I go to the one here in my city. I don't donate over people's websites and stuff. I don't do that anymore, because then the money's not getting where it needs to go. It just doesn't get there.
Right. And Carol says, if you want to support veterans, go to Gary Sinise's foundation. It supports veterans minus the cost.
Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know he had a foundation. That's really cool.
I didn't either.
Yeah. And you know me, my dad was a veteran. And so I'm very, very tuned into the veterans. Fort Hood, Texas is near where I live. And so there's always a lot of veterans. And my dad was very active in that community, doing a lot for the veterans. So always support the veterans. Absolutely. Jean says she spent over £1 million, $1.5 million of Charles's money on awful clothes in a single year. Catherine spent something like a quarter of that in the same year. And again, before she even married into the royal family, remember when she bought that ridiculous over-the-top engagement dress that was like $100,000? Yep. And I think Charles blew a casket. He was like, we're not spending that kind of money on a dress.
Which is why he said to Harry, she can keep acting. Because, she was like, Harry, I knew this from the beginning. This was going to be difficult because they said there wasn't going to be enough money for her and they wanted her to keep acting. Well, if she's buying $100,000 dresses, yeah, there's not going to be enough money. She spent over $1 million in 1 year. She spent like 5 times more than Catherine did in clothing. It's just, I've never seen anything like it. Don't forget also her suggestion that the Duchy of Cornwall be split between Harry and William.
That's a joke. That's such a joke.
And they were like, no. And then she goes, oh, well, I want to live in Windsor Castle. And the Queen said, no.
The Queen was like, I don't need a roommate, sis.
No. And then they said, well, what about Frogmore? Well, she thought that it was going to be the Frogmore where she had her wedding reception. And instead, she got a 6,000 square foot mansion, Frogmore Cottage. And she said it was so small, she could barely stand up.
She could barely turn around in there.
She could barely turn around. It was only 6,000 square feet.
Oh my God.
It only had like 7 bedrooms. What am I supposed to do with that? You know what her problem was? Honestly.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have seen the Royal Lodge where Andrew lives, the huge Gatecombe Park where Princess Anne lives. That's a gorgeous house.
They have the biggest, nicest houses, actually.
They have huge. And where Sophie and Edward live, that is just beyond gorgeous. But these are the children. These were at the time the children of the monarch, not the wives of the grandchildren, of which there's more than just Harry and William. She wanted something like that. She didn't get it, but that's what she wanted. So that was her problem. She wanted to live like the children of the monarch. And I did read at one point, she was upset because she went out, she had to go do something. And then when she came home, she was expected to cook. She wanted somebody to cook her meals, clean her house. She wanted to live in a mansion. She wanted, she didn't want to lift a finger. She didn't want to do anything. She thought she was marrying like a billionaire. She didn't realize that Harry at the age of 30 something was still completely financially dependent on his dad, who used to give him $1 to $2 million a year, and he had no bills.
Right. He was living in their little knot cot.
Right. He was living in Nottingham Cottage, which, by the way, William, Catherine, and George lived in, and they had no issues until their apartment was ready. And then the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester moved out of their apartment, and the apartment next door to William and Catherine was being renovated for Harry and Meghan. And Meghan goes, I'm not living there. I'm not living next to them. And that's when she asked to go to Windsor, and the Queen said no. And so then she was like, okay, fine. Well, we'll just go to Frogmore, not realizing it was Frogmore Cottage and not Frogmore House.
Right. Gizer says, my father was a lifetime veteran as my brothers. Yes, I love that.
My father was also a veteran.
Mm-hmm. Jean says, I'm convinced she persuaded Harry to leave when she and Doria finally worked out that she would own no houses, meaning there would be nothing to take from him in the divorce she was planning in case. Now, here's my thing. The Marchioness of Bath is literally the woman she should have been, because the Marchioness of Bath married a man who was rich, way richer than Prince Harry, has a huge manor house, with long leat, has modeling contracts with Dolce and Gabbana and other brands, and she still has a hereditary courtesy title of the Marchioness of Bath. She mingles with the royals. I believe Prince William, it works with their elephant, I think it's like for Elephants Foundation.
Yes.
Prince Edward has been to their house. So you get all of the bells and whistles, but you get way more money, you get way more freedom. And guess what, Sue? Her second son was born via a surrogate.
I know, so shocker. But remember, she's not royal, she's aristocracy, not royal.
But that's what I'm saying. She basically should have been like the Marchioness of Bath.
Right. She should have married some aristocrat and not Harry.
She shot too high. She shot to a working royal who was fifth in line to the throne. And then she found out it wasn't as glamorous as she thought, because they're very thrifty. They have to, show their budget to Parliament. They get it approved. You know, the Queen was very thrifty. That's why we wear the same outfits.
Her
You know,
problem is she's all about money. She wants money. She wants, give me money, give me money, give me money. So she always was talking about money, money, money. And then when they got married and she went on walkabouts in Australia, why aren't I being paid for this? What is this? I'm like, you're getting first class travel, the best hotel, the best food, adoring crowds, but you want to be paid on top of that.
Right. Elaine says, Catherine restyle her outfits and they look stunning every time she wears them, and she's never complained about where they live. They love their cozy home in Adelaide. And when they lived in Wales, didn't they live in like a very small little house, and they were very happy? You would see her grocery shopping. They were just normal people. Yeah.
Take the kids trick or treating on Halloween. There's pictures of them going to people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think William and Catherine's children are going to grow up very well-rounded. It's obvious the children get along. It's very obvious that everybody, you know, is loved and cared for, and the children are put first and they are the top priority. That is not the case with Meghan. Her children are not her top priority. Making money is her top priority. And right. You know, I said it before, I'll say it again. I feel really bad for Harry because Harry has lost just about everything. I mean, once a year, he's got Scotty's Little Soldiers, and once a year, he's got Well Child. And I'm questioning two charities that keep a patron that fully admits to using marijuana, cocaine, magic mushrooms, and who's so over therapied that it's become a running joke.
Yeah, I am really nervous that one day we might hear a story that's not good.
It's coming. They're going to write a book. When Meghan said, on that last podcast she did, the one before that one, where she goes, I've been writing an email to these kids so that they can see how much I loved them, how much I cared for them. This is my story to them. Again, it was me, me, me. All about me. And now, because there's nothing else, Harry's, this is only 2025. We haven't even had the 2027 Invictus Games yet in Birmingham. I will be very interested to see if Meghan shows up there, because remember, she can't return to the UK. It's dangerous. So I'll be interested to see if she shows up to that one. Now they're announcing the 6 possible candidates for the 2029 Invictus. And right. One of them is Nigeria. I have a feeling that's where they're going to end up, is in Nigeria.
Right. Arnold Geezer says, sad Harry is just as bad as her. Yeah, I used to feel bad for him, but I don't anymore, because he's really bought into the narrative and the stories that she sold. And I believe he's now kind of drank the Kool-Aid. He's now just as bad as Meghan.
Carol, I feel the same way.
Me gets boring really fast.
Yep.
Exactly. And nobody is buying that I'm a mom story that Meghan Markle constantly puts out. I mean, she's Betty Crocker and June Cleaver rolled into one. Yet I think in one of your videos, you said they were gone 179 days last year.
They were gone last year from their children, 179 days, 6 months they spent away.
Yeah.
From their children, 6 months. And Meghan keeps trying to sell this whole, I'm a mom, and Harry and I we're still in our honeymoon phase. And it's just, he's just so fabulous in our love story. Nobody is that much in love 7 years in with 2 children. I don't care who you are, how much money you have. I think their marriage is not where it should be. Ukraine is in the running also. Ukraine, however, is not going. They're not going to, you can't, and the war is still going. You can't hold Invictus during a war. So
right.
I don't think Ukraine is even in the running.
I have a feeling you might be right though, because wasn't there some new facility being built in Nigeria?
Correct. They were there during the
groundbreaking. Because that would be about 4 years. If it's 2029, that would be 4 years from now. It would be done by then. Now, of course, we don't know if Meghan and Harry will be together in 4 years, but they might be. They might be, because no one else really wants them.
They're not going to divorce before the 10 years because the California 10-year rule. she will not divorce him before the 10 years. So they're 7 years in. She's just got to hang on for 3 more years. But the thing is, any money of his that's in a trust fund, she can't touch. So the only thing she can get is the house, which could be, they could demand it sold and the money split from the house sale, and half of whatever money they've earned together since they've been married. Any money that of Diana's, if it's still in a trust fund, and any money he got from, the rest of the money that came from his mother that came recently, as long as it stays in the trust fund, she can't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So if they split up on the 10 years in California, she'll get $30 million and the house. And it sounds like so much, but the truth is, the way she spends money, she'll be broken. She'll be broke quickly.
Yeah, Debbie says, I'll wait and see if 2027 games actually happen, because there's there's scandal there.
I know.
Birmingham is broke, but they got money somehow. I don't know where they get the fund. Was it Parliament gave them money? Who gave them money? I don't understand how that works. But apparently they got a couple million for the games, and people were pissed because they had their libraries being closed, their lights are being turned off. It's a mess.
Trash isn't being picked up. They've had to cut like all these services because the town is bankrupt, but yet they give them money to host the Invictus games. But there's pictures of Birmingham that came out recently, and the town there's piles of trash everywhere. The kids can't go to the library.
A lot of stuff can happen in 2 years. That's very, very scary.
I just can't. I haven't been able to figure that one out yet.
Seth Siegel says 6 candidates, so they can take 6, I say faux or Fox royal tours. God, I hope not. Apparently, now, I don't know if you heard this rumor. Didn't the first lady of Nigeria, or the vice president, didn't she just have to resign?
The vice president or the first lady?
Oh, gosh, I think it's the vice president. The one that she went, the one who invited Meghan and Harry to go on their fake royal tour. She was already a scandalous character, and I just saw a story that she got Markled. They spent a ton of money on Harry and Meghan. People were pissed off that they didn't get anything back except for a speech, and then apparently she's had to resign. The person that resigned is not the woman you're thinking of. Okay.
It's Nigerian Vice President Kashim Shettima. And he resigned and expressed regret about accepting the position. And he cited that he was being sidelined from key decision-making process.
That was Colombia. I'm sorry. I got the countries wrong. Was Colombia.
I'm like, that did happen in Nigeria. That did happen.
Didn't the Colombian vice president also step down?
That's the one I just read to you that was the Colombian, the Nigerian VP. Who stepped back. That was 3 days ago.
Okay, but didn't the Colombian one also?
The Colombian, well, let me see.
President, that lady.
What was her name?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Let me see. What was her name? I'm trying to remember her name.
VP of Colombia.
Are you talking about Francia Marquez?
Yes.
Okay. That's her. Yeah, she was the one that looked like she was going to kill Meghan when Meghan hugged her husband.
Right.
Let's see. She,
yeah, 28th of February, 2025, she resigned from her position as Minister of Equity and Equality. Marquez alluded to a lack of coherence as well as some corruption scandals as part of the Petro administration. So maybe she resigns as Colombia's Minister of Equality, but maybe not the vice president.
Vice presidency, right.
Okay, because I thought there was an article saying that she got Markled.
Yeah.
No. Never mind. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thinking. But that was that woman. I don't think she liked Meghan either. From what I saw, she didn't like Meghan.
Right. Sandy says, "Why aren't reporters putting out information on Doria and Meghan true past. Is that what you mean? Their true past?
I don't know what that means.
I mean, either. We'll see that.
Okay, let's keep on.
Lizzie B says, "Oh, she turned quick when she saw Meghan making a move towards her husband."
Yes,
it was analyzed by many creators.
There was a video I remember discussing it. Meghan walked up and hugged her husband, and the woman turned around, saw it, and literally went over and blocked Meghan from her husband. And then Harry went over and like took her away. Yeah, it was crazy.
Jamie says, Megzilla Twerkle always acts and dresses like she is at a yacht party. Yeah, and I have to tell y'all, so nobody in my family really watches my videos. I only have one friend who watches my videos because most people in America just aren't interested in, it's just not a thing. They're not interested in the royals. And I remember when Meghan went to Nigeria, and I showed them a photo of, her in that nude color dress. And I showed them what she wore. They were like, oh my God. They were gobsmacked. They were like, I can't believe she looked like that. I said, she wore this in a very Muslim conservative country at a school with children, a party dress where she was practically naked.
She's showing a lot of skin.
These are people
disrespectful.
Don't look at her, don't know anything about her. They were shocked at her outfit.
It was disrespectful. And I remember a video of them when they were walking out of the school. The assistant woman was going, come on, clap, come on, trying to get the kids to act like they were interested. They weren't.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They weren't interested.
Right.
Not at all.
Let's see what we have here. Where has Doria been? I don't know.
She lives in the house with them. We know that.
Getting high. Who knows? Jean says, yep. And then the twerking video left no one in doubt about her true character. I would just love to have been a fly on the wall at Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle when the royals were drinking their tea and they look up and see her twerking. I would love to have been the staff member because they were talking about it. They were like, that was the gossip of the day.
One of the things that gets me is after all that going on about privacy, the truth of the matter is she's more interested in Instagram clicks. She's more interested in getting clicks on Instagram to try to build her Instagram. That's right. But she doesn't care about privacy.
Right. Sandy says their past prior to meeting Harry. Well, people have done stories on Doria and Meghan, but I believe a lot of it was erased from the internet. Now, Meghan, really, there wasn't a lot about her out there because she wasn't really anybody. She was on the show Suits. She had the Tig. She was married to Trevor. She did a couple of Hallmark movies, but she really wasn't anything. So with them going into her past, she was just a wannabe actress. There really wasn't much about her maybe in the public view. Now, of course, people have dug into some other things that she may or may not have done. Doria is the one that it's really odd because she was gone for 10 years during Meghan's childhood and nobody knows where she went, and they are very tight-lipped about it. Some people say that she had a nice vacation in a very secure location.
It's a nice way to put it.
In a very secure, gated community for 10 years. It was
really gated.
But again, there's no evidence because I think if that happened, it would have been exposed. If that was,
I think the record could be sealed. It's a lot of stuff that's sealed. But I was just thinking when you talked about family, something else that Meghan said in that interview. She talked about, well, I used to help my grandmother at this store, and then my mom did that, and she completely left off her father. Like he didn't exist.
Oh yeah. The man does not exist.
I feel very sorry for that man. I really do. I don't know him, never spoken to him. I'm not in touch with the Markles. While other people are claiming I am, I've never been in touch with the Markles. But I do feel very sad for him because he gave her everything and she crapped all over him.
Yeah.
So
Vicky says, the two of you are so interesting to listen to. Oh, well, thank you, Vicky.
thank you.
We hope so, because Sue and I, we gab all the time, so it would just feel like we're just having a conversation with 61 people listening.
We gab 3 times a day. We gab.
Yeah.
Except for when I'm sick.
I know. Sue and I talk a lot on the phone. Sandy Touchette says something shady with the Markle family. Yeah, that could be. But here's the thing. There's something shady maybe with everyone's family. I don't know. But the Markles, yeah, I tend not to really mess with them. I just leave them alone, to be honest.
Me neither.
People live their life.
Thomas Markle Sr. is in bad health. Thomas Markle Jr. is taking care of him. The two of them had to leave the country in order to try to escape. And then that photographer guy is like stalking them now. Went over there and took pictures. Like they're not bothering any. Thomas Markle Sr. is not bothering anybody. He just wants peace and quiet in the last few years of his life. But I think we all know what's going to happen when he passes. It's kind of like when people said that if the Queen died without ever meeting the children, that would be unforgivable. Well, if Thomas Markle dies without ever having met those grandchildren, people will never forgive Meghan for that. She will be that will be. She'll put out a statement. I still loved my dad, and I still, bull crap. If you loved your dad while he's alive, you'll let him meet your children.
Yeah.
So,
this is my bestie. Hi, Alicia. This is
hi,
my
Alicia.
Bestie. She likes Sue. Hi. Thanks for stopping by. I'll call you later.
Lord.
It says, our recollections may vary. Loves crapping on Thomas Markle Sr. and Samantha. It's beat up the elderly on her channel. Every creator is different, but Sue and I, we focus on the royals. We don't focus on creators. And the Markles aren't really royals. I mean, we have reported on them, but again, they didn't ask to be in the limelight. They got dragged into it. So
exactly.
To each their own. That's all we're going to say about that.
Yep.
Let's see here. I think Rachel is going to play the essay card once her father passes. You're not the first person to say that, and I really hope that's not the case.
Wait a minute. What is the essay card?
Schmexual.
Oh, you know what? Nobody would believe that at this point. She's such a liar. Nobody's going to believe her if she tries to go there with that. Forget it. Forget it.
Yeah, that, and another person said that too, that they think that she might claim stuff when he died. I'm afraid that Meghan's going to claim stuff about her dad when he passes. Yeah, well, and my thing is when someone passes, just let them rest in peace.
What's going to happen is, like I said, she's just going to dig her own grave because people really like Thomas Markle Sr. And they've said it on the news before. He really is just a genuine, nice guy who wants nothing but to meet his grandchildren. And the fact that Harry went on that Netflix show and said, she's lost her father because of me. No, she hasn't lost her father. He is alive and well. Meghan's cut him out. That there's a difference. There's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel bad for him. I do. But so she starts slamming Thomas Markle after he dies because he can't defend himself. Oh, forget it. That's yeah.
And another person says the same thing. Yeah, she's going to come out with a Dear Daddy book or something like that. I think Harry needs to watch his back. He's the one who's going to be trashed very soon.
Well, the Sussex squad has already put up some posts about Harry that are very questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do divorce, he should watch his back. So because the Sussex squad will attack Harry.
Mm-hmm. And Tony says if Meghan Markle smears her father, Samantha and Tom Jr. could sue her. Now, Sue has let me know that Samantha's lawsuit, guys, is still moving forward. So next month.
August. There's an appeal in August.
Okay. So Samantha Markle's appeal is going to happen in August. So she's still going after Meghan for slander. Was this from the O Miss Scobie book?
It's from the things she said during the Netflix series. She said a lot of things, and they're like each statement by itself isn't so bad, but when you put them together, they're pretty bad. And she's been accused of running the hate group It all goes back to what Christopher Boozy said on Netflix. And the judge said you can't sue, and they've appealed. And that appeal is going forward. God help me, because I'm on the witness list. So if that goes to court, I'm going to have to testify.
Yep.
Because anybody in their right minds who did any investigation on Christopher Boozy would have seen what he was doing, online bullying and doxing and attacking of people online. And yet Harry and Meghan hired him and then had him go on their show and talk about online bullying of Meghan. And yeah, so what happened to me happened before the Netflix show. So that's how I ended up on the witness list.
Very interesting. So that's a story that's pending, guys. You heard it here first. So that's something that could be happening in the next couple of months. So hopefully she'll be able to go through and get her court case heard, because what she did to Samantha was really messed up.
It's terrible. I feel really bad for Samantha. She can't even earn a living.
Jamie says Meghan Markle gave Thomas Sr. an ultimatum when Meghan was getting married. She demanded Thomas Sr. cut off Thomas Jr. and Samantha. Yeah, that's just a terrible thing.
That's true.
And I know she didn't have much relationship with her older siblings, which is understandable. You know, they weren't raised together. But at the same time, to ask your father to cut them off, and she didn't want any of them at her wedding, it just tells you what kind of character she is. All she had to do was be nice and just be like, hey, guys, act right. I'm giving you an invitation. All of this probably could have been avoided if she just would have learned to play the nice game. You don't have to love them. You don't have to have them there on holidays, but you could be pleasant to people.
Well, Thomas Markle did write that letter to Harry, and everything he put in that letter has come true.
But if she had been nice to him, Sue, he never would have wrote the letter, is what I'm saying. She would have avoided all of this drama, the law, everything, if she would just have been nice, right? A normal person.
Right. That's right.
She's Meghan Markle and asking her dad to cut off contact with 2 of his kids. That's not a normal thing for someone to do.
True.
NAA says, we never hear from the Rye Jones, Autumn Phillips, Maternal, Camilla Shawn, Parker Bowles, Middleton families. Absolutely only from the Markles, all 3 of them. Now, again, to play devil's advocate here, Meghan and Harry are constantly in the news. Now, you are correct. The Markles probably could have just gone away out of the limelight. But again, I do believe that Thomas Markle was kind of doing what Harry and Meghan are doing now, especially Harry. Harry went on the BBC interview because he wanted to get his father's attention, because his father cut him off, went no contact. Meghan Markle went no contact with her father. So
exactly.
The press to get her attention. He was pleading with her. So she kind of created, again, that own monster by being an unkind person. So Meghan and Harry are both to blame for 99.9% of all of their problems.
That's true. And I also think it's just, I think it's, you know what? I think it's, again, I've told you, I believe in karma. Meghan has cut off all of her family on both sides. She's cut off her father. She's cut off her siblings. And let me just add, there are pictures of Samantha Markle. She used to go by every day and take Meghan to school. She's the one who took Meghan to school. And there are pictures of them at the duck pond, and there are pictures of them together. She may not have lived in the same house, but apparently they lived fairly close, and she was right around the corner. So that's my understanding.
Yeah, and Lizzie made a point, but even when things were okay, Meghan didn't introduce her dad to Harry. So Correct. That is weird, because I remember, if I can remember, what they said, I think it was the H&M documentary, or someone said it. Didn't they have they had like a holiday together, like a Thanksgiving or something, and she's like, I met a prince. And then, of course, they announced the engagement, I thought, in that November. So it was a couple months prior to that they were together. And then after she got engaged is when she kind of started to distance herself. And Harry we're kind of confused if Harry told the father on the phone? Did they meet? We've heard.
Here's what I know. Here's what I know. When Meghan married Trevor, and this was in one of the books, Trevor said at the wedding, "We're going to be the family she never had."
Right.
When Harry got engaged to Meghan, Harry said during a podcast, she was so excited to be around a family she's never had family. That's what she said. I think she cut her family off because she told Harry a bunch of lies about her family, about her upbringing. She told Harry she grew up poor doing the Sizzler steak, all-you-can-eat salad bar. She didn't tell her father. She didn't tell Harry that her father was an award-winning lighting director who paid for her to go to private schools and dance lesson and tap lesson. And she was picked up by a limo every day. She was not a latchkey kid. And she was taken onto the set of Married with Children, and that he basically gave her the life that she has. I think she lied, and I think she didn't want the family at the wedding, because if they were at the wedding, it might have come out at the reception when people are talking that a lot of the stories she told were lies.
And I think she was embarrassed about her dad.
I think she was embarrassed by her dad.
Going down a little bit in life, and he was living in Mexico, and they took those pat pics of him getting beer at the liquor store. I felt so bad for him. Yeah. Tom says the emotional blackmail Harold is playing with Casey is sickening. It is.
Yes. Yes. The pictures. Supposedly he's letting Meghan put the pictures up to show his father what he's missing. Look at the grandchildren. Listen, the king is very sad. So sad about not having a relationship, but he's not going to contact Charles. He's not going to contact Harry. It's over. Mm-hmm. It's just like when he took Frogmore away. Harry goes, "Don't you ever want to see your children?" Well, that kind of blackmail doesn't work if you don't let your father have a relationship with your children. You used them as bargaining chips. You never let them have a relationship. And then you tried to use them as blackmail, and it didn't work. You're right.
Right.
I never understood that.
Opinion says Harry will never escape Meghan. She will throw Harry under a bus. Chance even a schmeg tape exists. Yeah, like I said, there was 3 of us. I'm going to do a video called "There was 3 of us in this marriage: Harry, Meghan, and the camera," because I've never seen anyone document their relationship on camera as much as Harry and Meghan did. If y'all remember, before they did Megxit, they were already having a filming crew filming them at Frogmore Cottage and taking photographs of them constantly.
After they were told no by the Queen.
Yeah, and she filmed her engagement. It's like she knew it was happening. How did you know it was happening? It's weird. She was FaceTiming a friend. It's bizarre.
It's true, but don't forget that when they came back for the Platinum Jubilee, they asked to bring the camera crew, and the Queen said no, and they did it anyway, and they took pictures in unauthorized areas because some of those pictures ended up in Netflix.
No, but what I'm talking about is they were filming before they even left for Megxit. What was the purpose of that?
Oh, somebody told them that they were so unhappy that they should go ahead and just videotape themselves for future to recollect their memories. That's not true. The truth is they knew they were going to have a deal with Netflix. They knew they were going to have a deal. So they started taping so that they would have their stuff together to tape. That's what that was.
Yes. Carrie says, "Love this chat." Thanks, guys. Again, do chat all the time. We're just chatting in front of 570 people. So if you guys have any questions for me and Sue, we're going to wrap it up in about 10-15 minutes because Sue has things to do. So if you guys will leave me your comments in the chat, please do so we can get it for you right now.
Yep. Do, 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 do.
Jamie says science has proven that stress can trigger cancer. Who in the royal family has cancer? Who has stressed those family members? Okay, so again, now Sue, I want to get your opinion on this. That's a good topic. You know, we had Catherine who pulled out of the Royal Ascot, and a lot of people are saying that you know, she might have some, you know, lingering things going on with her illness. What do you think about that?
Okay, well, first of all, just FYI, there's no direct evidence that stress causes cancer. While it can impact progression and the spreading once you have it, I I do find it very interesting that they stressed the queen out at the end of her life. She had cancer. They've stressed out the king. He has cancer. They've stressed out Catherine. She has cancer. I just feel like the problem is Harry isn't top dog. And after he and Meghan didn't get, she thought she was going to go in and do what she wanted and how she wanted it. And when she was told she couldn't, she was like, I'm leaving. She cried racism and she left. And I think now she and Harry just want to burn the entire institution down because they're not going to run it. So I think, and I've said this before, if the two of them had gone to the United States, not given all these interviews and kept their heads down and actually did some philanthropic work, they would have been two of the most popular people on the planet. As it is, people in the UK hate them. People in the United States hate them. From what I understand, people in Colombia hate them. A lot of people in Nigeria were very unhappy they were there. They're worldwide. People don't like them. The amount of Sussex Squad compared to the amount of people in the world, they're very disliked. And like you said before, Michelle, I used to blame Meghan for everything. Now I realize that the palace PR covered up Harry's crap. But now you know Harry's just as bad as she is.
Exactly. So. And Bible Unbutchered said, can't say remission till after 5 years. Now, according to Neil Sean, they're saying that Catherine had stomach problems. She's had a problem for a while, and that's what led to the cancer diagnosis in the first place. So having some issues in your stomach is very, very important. So do you think that could be it, Sue, that she had some underlying health issues? That's why she's so thin. And then she got into the cancer. So whatever kind of cancer she had, whether it was pre-cancer, we don't know. Would it still be the 5 years? She had treatment.
They found the cancer. Okay, well, obviously they found something or they wouldn't have done the major abdominal surgery. There was something there, some sort of growth, and they probably thought it was benign. And they went in and did this major surgery. They probably took, it sounds to me, this is just, again, I'm just speculating. Obviously it wasn't pelvic. It was abdominal. Sounds to me like they took out a section of her colon. So it was major abdominal surgery. They sent the section off for pathology. It came back cancer, but it probably came back at a very low stage. So that she did the cancer, she did the radiation, she did the chemo, she did the treatments. People were like, well, her hair didn't fall out. Well, depending on the treatment and depending, first of all, the radiation wouldn't have made her hair fall out because they were radiating her abdomen, not her head. And there are things you can do to lessen hair loss during radiation, like the cold cap. And depending on the chemo treatment, she may not have lost her hair. So I think they found colon cancer is what I think they found.
Interesting. Resting Dollface says, what do you make of Paramount owning the copyrights to the Channel 5 Sandringham Summit special?
Very interesting. Yes.
What is this? Is this new? I have no idea what this is. Do you, Sue?
Well, remember, she's become good friends with Tracy Robbins, who was in her Netflix show, and they were together at the movie premiere in Jamaica, and her husband runs Paramount. And she's been Beyonce up to them for quite some time. And the thought process that everybody's having is that if Netflix cuts the deal, Paramount's going to pick them up. Listen, friendship only goes so far. When you're talking that kind of money, I'm sorry. No. But does it surprise me that some friend of Meghan's has a hand in on that? No, that doesn't surprise me at all. Just like it didn't surprise me that when William and Catherine came to the United States, that whole thing blew up with Olivia Hussey with that Pelosi woman, and come to find out that Harry and Meghan's good friend, Meeson Harriman, knows her, the Pelosi woman, and took the headshots for her sister space. There was absolutely a link there. There's always a link. And I'm sure this new Broadway show that I told everybody about yesterday, which is disgusting, where they're calling George, it's George the Faggot is the name of it. And supposedly he's a gay guy. And there's all these graphic sex scenes in it. People have to lock their phones when they go into this show. I'm sure at some point you're going to find that the writer or the producer or somebody is somehow linked to Harry and Meghan.
So that's a Broadway play?
It's a Broadway play called Prince the Faggot.
Now, don't you remember 2 years ago, there was a cartoon about the royals, and they were also portraying George as gay. Now, this is wrong with being gay, but why do they keep picking on him and making him gay? 2 different productions.
That was HBO, and it got canceled after a year. People were disgusted, and it got canceled. And this show is running, but I can't say that I don't know the stats of whether it's successful. But, you know, this whole thing of children are off limits, children are off limits. Sussex Squad is screaming, children are off limits. But yet they constantly attack Prince George. I think it's terrible. I think it's absolutely horrible.
Yeah. So Carol mentioned, if you guys want to hear about that play, which is terrible, that they're doing about Prince George, it was in Sue's video from yesterday. Go ahead and check that out. I'm so sick of them picking on the royal children, honestly.
Pick on the kids. They're saying that Louis has ADHD, that no, he doesn't.
He's just an active kid.
Terrible.
Wildcat Wilma, sorry y'all, my eyes are says, of course they never planned on staying. See Harry's comments on his freedom flight. This flight has been over 2 years in the planning. That so that just brought up a whole other topic about the freedom flight. Their bestie Tyler Perry.
Oh my God.
Girl, what is going on with Tyler Perry? Woo.
He's been accused, and this person is suing. In case you guys haven't figured it out yet, every single person that Meghan comes into contact with ends up in trouble. From Ellen DeGeneres, who got canceled, Chrissy Teigen. It was brought to light about her tweets telling some poor teenage girl to go have a dirt nap. And Chrissy Teigen is on her as ever on season 2, which is really just 8 more episodes of season 1 that they've split up. Like attracts like. So you have a woman who's a bully. So she attracts Ellen DeGeneres, who's a bully, and Chrissy Teigen, who's a bully, and Tyler Perry, who's now been accused of assaulting somebody. Am I shocked? No, I'm not shocked.
Right. Carol says Prince Louis acts like Prince William. The video
does.
He's a normal child. I was a very hyperactive child. I wasn't a brat. I had a lot of energy, and I was the youngest, and my sister and brother had to keep me in line. But I was a very hyperactive child, and I think Louis, he's just a hyperactive kid.
Child. He's like my oldest son, who we know has autism, thank you to Boozy, but also he had ADHD. He was like the Energizer Bunny. He just kept going and going and going. I mean, he never slowed down. He never got tired. He just constantly kept going. He was exhausting as a child.
Oh gosh. Kitten says bullies like other bullies, birds of a feather. Exactly. And it's like Meghan's, I guess season 2 is what they're calling it. Having Chrissy Teigen is literally like.
Did you happen to notice though what Meghan said in her interview? We just finished post-production and editing on season 2. Let me tell you something. This is why they split it up. Season 1 was a complete bomb. They had to edit her in when she was talking with, what was her name? The girl that she lectured her, call me Sussex. My name is Sussex. Mindy Kaling, I think it was. They had to edit Meghan in talking because she talked the whole time and didn't let Mindy Kaling get a word in edgewise. And and it bombed because all she did was make crudité boards. Is that what you said? Crudité boards? She made boards. Yeah. And she made salad. She put flour sprinkles on everything. That was all she did. It was boring. She's being sued now for the bath salts. There's a lawsuit pending because Netflix didn't put a disclaimer, which was really stupid of them. And so they had to re-edit the last 8 episodes that were all taped at the same time. Everything's being re-edited in the hope that it'll be more palatable to the public. I assure you it will not be. I can't even hate watch it the second time around. I can't.
Also let it slip because it was already filmed. So how can you be in post-production, or what she said they were editing? It was at the same time that she was advertising because it was already filmed. So she kind of had it herself. It's not a season. But again, Chrissy Teigen has got to be, oh my Lord, one of the worst people she probably could ever pick. Tom says, don't forget Rachel telling a room full of young girls they were being bullied, that she was the most bullied woman in the world.
She said I was the most trolled person. Come to find out that was untrue. The most trolled person was Adele. Again, like I said, she just lies. The lies just roll out of her mouth. And even though they're easily debunked, she just keeps going.
Right?
Crazy. Crazy.
This person says, Sue, you're with friends. Is a fruit or veggie tray? I'm going to say crudité.
Crudité. It's a fruit or veggie tray. It's a again.
Talking about, yeah.
Every single thing she did, she either took the pretzels from one bag and put them in another bag, or every single thing that she did, you can get from Pinterest. Every single thing. And as a matter of fact, I went on Pinterest and found the most beautiful thing to freeze flowers in the ice cubes. And they were the most gorgeous blooms you ever saw. Not these little tiny.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they have really cool things. You can make different like ice cubes. I saw one that was really cool. It was the shape of a rose.
Yes.
And freeze wine in it.
Yes.
We're putting these really pretty drinks. 509 Cougs says, I think Prince Louis could easily be the wayward spare in the future. His saving grace is he has great attentive parents. And one thing I'll have to say is I like the fact that there's 3 kids. So it's not just the heir and the spare. You have and I think the kids are so close. They're so well adjusted.
Yes.
Of course, Harry and William used to be really close.
Well, don't forget.
Charlotte.
Don't forget. William, Harry and Meghan got an award for only having 2 children. Well, I had only 2 children. Where's my award?
But I think that Charlotte also is like the queen. She's always looking after little Louis. Yes. And William and Catherine, I think the reason why they spend more time focusing on their children is because they don't want to have that same thing happen that happened with Harry and William. Correct. Because they were raised differently. They were raised where William was told very young he's going to be king, and Harry was told he was the spare. And I think it kind of did a little damage to him a little bit growing up in his brother's shadow, even though I know he got a lot of love. So I think that William and Catherine are really trying to make it where it's more like you have a happy, normal childhood. You're well adjusted. They didn't even tell Prince George, I think until he was like 9 or 10, that he was going to be king. They kept it from him for a while, which I think was a really smart thing to do. They're giving their kids a very normal childhood in Adelaide Cottage. They don't have any staff that live there. It's just them.
Correct.
And I feel like Meghan is definitely trying to act like her and Harry live like that, but they don't. She acts like I just sit here and cook dinner every night, and I like to make the lunch boxes. And then she's in the next sentence she says, "Oh, they just eat chicken nuggets," or I call in and whoever's there, I read a story, whatever. You can't be gone 179 days a year and tell me you're an attentive parent.
179 days. And, she talked about, and I tape it so that somebody will play it for my kids so I can read them the bedtime story. That brought me back to, you're probably not old enough to remember this, but when I was a little kid, remember the big reel-to-reel tape recorders, the big ones that sat on the floor. Mm-hmm. And when I was 2, if I didn't get a bedtime story from my dad, I used to cry. So he taped bedtime stories, and my mother would turn on the tape recorder and play it for me before bed. So this is not a novel idea. I mean, I'm 60. So my father thought of that 58 years ago.
Oh,
crazy.
That's really nice. By the way, do you have your father's book with you that we could sit here and promote?
You know what? I do not have it with me, but for those of you who don't know, after my father died, my mother gave me and then my mother had books, and my mother died, and then I had all these boxes, and I put them aside, and finally when we moved here to the new house, hey girls, when we moved here to the new house, I went through the boxes and I found a book my father had written back in the 60s, and I had it published. It's Never Pet a Porcupine, and it's for sale on Amazon, and it sold really well. He was an artist. He had a doctorate. His entire life was helping special needs children. He was head of division of multi-handicap. These are children that were blind and deaf, or blind and had cerebral palsy. Spent his whole life, him and my mom both, helping disabled children. So he wrote this book, and the link for it is on my YouTube account down in the description box of every single video. The book is for sale.
If Carol and Izzy can possibly go and get that link and put it in the description for the chat, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yes.
Great.
My father's book.
Thanks for stopping by. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm always lurking in their lives. I feel like
I'm always lurking in their lives too.
They're so sick of me. I'm always like, hi. But they always do the great lives. So I always have to go in there.
They do. They do great lives for sure.
Positive Thinker says Frogmore Cottage was good enough for the King of France and the Russian royal family. Absolutely. Yes. So here's another topic really quickly. I know you probably have to go in a couple of minutes.
I do.
Okay. But what do you think? There's a story that came out about Prince Andrew having to exit Royal Lodge in a couple of years. And he thought Frogmore Cottage was too small for him.
Okay, here's the thing. Royal Lodge, he's been in Royal Lodge since he married Sarah. After he divorced Sarah, he's raised his kids there. But part of his 75-year lease is the agreement to maintain the property. Because of everything that's happened, he hasn't got the money to maintain the property. He's having to pay for his own security. I think if he had, and the house has a pool, and Frogmore Cottage doesn't have a pool. I think if they're smart, they will, he'll move to Frogmore Cottage, which is brand new, completely renovated. Maybe the king would agree to put in a pool if that's what he wants, but I think him staying in Royal Lodge is a huge mistake. Apparently there's mold and mildew on the walls, and it's unsafe. It's unhealthy.
Yeah. And the repairs, they cut off his money, so he can't really afford to do all of the repairs. Thank you, Silly Twins.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Sillies.
Romeo is going to have a lot of fancy feast and some very expensive. So thank you guys so much for that. That's very kind of you. So we have a couple more minutes here. Anyone else have any other questions? Meghan and Harry never talked money bag. Yeah, Meghan is always ready to accuse someone of something. So we have, what do we have coming up for Megsy? We've got, we had her As Ever summer drop, which I thought was a big flop. Of course, everything sold out within hours. We have her next drop on July 1st, which is her wine. And her birthday is coming up in August. But what other events do we have with Harry and Meghan that we know of? I don't know.
We don't. That's just the point. All the philanthropic work has fallen away. Everything is about Meghan and Meghan's money and Meghan's this and Meghan's that. And Wildcat, when they paid that money back, we found out in the agreement, they agreed to pay it back, but then they never paid any more rent. That was it. And then when the lease was up, Charles said, you're out. So just throwing that out there. They were supposed to pay that money back. Plus they were supposed to be making monthly rental payments. And people were wondering, how are they affording this? They made an agreement with Charles. We'll pay that money back, but then we don't want to pay rent for the rest of the year. And Charles said, okay. So, listen, I'm still trying to figure out why this man is a counselor of state when he doesn't have a UK residence. He should no longer be a counselor of state.
Well, they did put in the alternatives, which was Prince Edward and Princess Anne.
But he shouldn't be. But he still shouldn't be there.
Absolutely. I think they're trying to do a way to make it to where it would be almost virtually impossible for him to be there. But he definitely should be removed. Through the Looking Glass said Harry was raised to believe he was equal to William and would be equal in power. Harry thought he would stand beside King and would rule and make decisions together. Life did not turn out that way.
I think Diana always knew that Harry was a bit thick and that he was going to have to do something different. So.
I think so too. Yeah, so there's a lot of people asking a quick story. I don't know if we want to get into it. I know there was another YouTuber who reported on a big story that I don't know has been confirmed about Prince Harry being in the hospital with an overdose. So we're just going to leave that there. I don't know anything about that. So we're just going to we're going to pass over that respectfully. And if you guys can go over there and check that out on your own. I don't know anything about that.
Can I just say that there's a lot of YouTubers who do stories that are clickbait. And you have to know that if it's not in mainstream media, it didn't happen. Just
right. So we're just going to say, we don't have any information on that.
Nope.
But we're going to let you go over and make up your own mind and check that out for yourself.
Yeah.
Lizzie says, Kinsey visited Frogmore last week and said it was gorgeous, spacious, and so secure. Meghan's just a materialistic idiot who'll never be happy, now living in a plastic American palace, so fake. And again, a lot of people don't even know if they actually live in Montecito. There's so many people who say that they live there, they don't live there, they're not seen around town, nobody ever sees the kids. HD Tutor just did a video saying that it's available for rent. I believe in the past
it is available for rent.
It's still because I know in the past it was. I don't know about now, but I know they used to film movie stuff there. But here's the weird thing. When they did their H&M documentary, when she did her cooking show, they don't film in their house.
Correct.
If it's available for filming, why don't they film in their own house, right?
I believe Meghan said the reason she didn't film in her house was she didn't want her children to have the memory of all these staff members standing around in her kitchen, which is the dumbest excuse I've ever heard. They also didn't film the Netflix series, Harry and Meghan. That wasn't filmed in their house either. That was filmed in a house that was being sold off because the guy who owned it had stolen money from veterans. Shocker.
Now, wasn't he a Russian guy?
Yeah, no, they bought their house supposedly from a Russian guy, but the house that they filmed the Harry and Meghan show in was actually owned by somebody who had stolen money from veterans. And I remember thinking, and you filmed in this house? You paid them to film in this house? This man stole from veterans.
Exactly.
But Harry didn't care. So.
And Rusting Dollface says everyone has their own channels, their own styles. It's up to everyone to discern what is worth their time to watch. That's why I'm passionate about exposing propaganda in general. Everyone go check out Rusting Dollface. She does amazing work on exposing narcissists along with HD Tutor. Both of them do amazing work. I love the clips that Rusting Dollface shares. Of course, go check out the Sidley twins. If they're still in here, you guys go check them out. They're amazing. I think they're doing a live today at some point. So I'm going to go stalk y'all. I'm going to go stalk. I'm going to go hang out. But this has been such a fun live. I literally could go for another 3 hours. This has been fun, but I don't want to take up Sue's time. She's got children home from college. She's moving people out of apartments. She is a busy, busy lady.
I am sore is what I am from going up and down those steps yesterday. My thighs are killing me this morning.
Oh my gosh. So you want to tell people what you have to do this weekend?
What, this weekend or?
Will you move?
Well, my son is home from college. And so we moved 80% of his stuff out and we moved it here to the house. And in 2 weeks, he has to go back because he's working from the 8th through the 28th. And then we have to go and get the rest of his stuff out. I can't. I'm lifting boxes and clothing. I'm doing laundry and I'm just, I'm like, he's coming home because he graduated and he has a lot of college debt. And I'm like, you can't go out into the world with that college debt. So he's got a job, he's going to work and he's going to spend the next we're like, just live here for 2-3 years, pay off your student loans. And then you can go out into the world anywhere you want, but not until you're done paying off your student loans, or at least pay off the first 100,000.
Yeah, I have a ton of my own student loans I'm still paying off. So Sue Toffee says, Twin Talk have a live in 1 hour and 15 minutes. So go over and check out the Sidley twins. Check out Resting Dollface. Thank you to the lovely Sue Smith. Go check out Sue Smith's channel. She has 2 lovely channels. And if you can, go check out her book on Amazon that her father wrote. It was also, the picture was drew by
The body language guy.
Body language guy did the artwork for her father's book.
For the cover. He made the cover for me.
Yeah. That's so cool. That apparently he's a brilliant artist. I wish we could see more of his work.
He's very talented, and I'm sure he probably would have done the illustrations in the book also, but I really wanted to use my father's illustrations. So
I'm definitely going to buy your book and Stephanie Sidley's book on adoption. You guys, she has a book on Amazon. You definitely need to go check it out. But I wanted to thank y'all for stopping by here in the lovely Sue Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Go check out their channels and go over to the Sidley Twins in an hour, guys. I'll probably be there lurking in the comments. But thank you for being here. Bye, guys.
Bye.